Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Friday, the 22nd of August, 2025, 686 days of war and violence, particularly in Gaza, but between Israel and Hamas. Updates from the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. It's unfathomable that every day, for hundreds and hundreds of days in a row, the reports are death, killing, hunger, and there are more updates about that in the last 24 hours. On Wednesday of this week, the Israeli military announced that they had begun the preliminary operations and first stages of taking over Gaza City, their ground offensive, that they were holding the outskirts of the city. According to local officials, Palestinians are fleeing parts of the city in order to escape the offensive. Separately, an Israeli military official said that Israeli troops yesterday clashed with more than 15 Hamas militants in the South Khan Yunis area, with militants severely wounding one soldier and lightly wounding two others. It was announced today by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification System, the IPC. They said today that famine is occurring in Gaza City, and it's projected to expand across the territory without a ceasefire and if restrictions on aid are not lifted. The assessment was issued by the world's leading authority on food crises. This is the first time the IPC has confirmed a famine in Gaza. According to the IPC, approximately a quarter of the population is facing catastrophic levels of hunger, and conditions in the North Gaza Governorate are estimated to be as severe as in Gaza City or worse, despite limited data. Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry rejected the IPC report that came out today. They accused it of publishing a fabricated report based on Hamas's lies laundered through organizations with vested interests. The critically low supplies of fortified milk and special nutritious pastes that are exacerbating food shortages in Gaza. Because of critically low supplies of fortified milk and special nutritious pastes, those shortages are exacerbating food shortages in Gaza. They're pushing greater numbers of children into starvation. 3 hunger experts and aid workers from 6 different agencies talked to Reuters about that this week. Gaza City could turn into Rafah and Beit Hanun unless Hamas agrees to Israel's conditions for ending the war. So says Israel Katz, the defense minister in Israel. He posted that on social media. The 2 areas were reduced to ruins following Israel's military operations earlier in the ongoing war and ethnic cleansing and genocide of Gaza. Separately, Gaza City's Shifa hospital said that at least 17 Palestinians were killed today amid Israel's escalating activity in the city. Vatican News reported from the Holy Family Catholic Church. The priest there, Father Romanelli, has said that the evacuation issued for Gaza in the north included the parish neighborhood. He said that the entire neighborhood has been issued an evacuation order, and they're starting to distribute tents. So he's the parish priest of the Holy Family Church, which is the only Catholic church in Gaza. He talked to the Italian press agency about this on August 18th. And I'm sorry I haven't told you sooner. I just had this come across my desk in the last day or so. Romanelli's statements came as Israeli forces have advanced their plans to relocate thousands of Palestinians from North Gaza, hundreds of thousands. That's where the parish is located, the Holy Family Catholic Church. It's been attacked numerous times since October 2023, but this draws additional international concerns over the worsening humanitarian conditions and the ongoing bombardment and attacks in Gaza. Romanelli said, where can they find space for all of the inhabitants of the Gaza Strip? 2,300,000 people. During Mass last Sunday, he reported that he heard loud explosions nearby, one of which broke a water tank, while underlining that luckily nothing has happened. It's only material damage, indicating that there was not damage to humans. He said it's another Sunday of war. In terms of ceasefire negotiations, Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday said that he ordered negotiations for the release of all hostages and for an end to the war in Gaza. He said, quote, on terms that are acceptable to Israel, end quote. Also, that the Israeli military still intends to advance their plans related to Gaza City. Netanyahu did not specify to whom he gave that order to negotiate a ceasefire deal or under what terms the proposal is currently being discussed. Related to Lebanon, His Holiness Pope Leo XIV is rumored to take his first international trip to Lebanon since being elected as the head of the Catholic Church in May. The deputy to Lebanon's highest-ranking Catholic leader, Archbishop Paul Saya, stated that Lebanon is a multicultural, multi-religious country. It's one of the rare environments where Muslims and Christians are living together, respecting one another, and so it sends a message about the entire region. While there's been much discussion about this, the trip dates have yet to be set. Related to Syria, U.S. troops yesterday killed a senior member of the Islamic State group. This was during a raid in North Syria. The Islamic State member was seen as the candidate to be the group's leader in Syria, according to officials. This is the second known U.S. raid in North Syria since Bashar al-Assad was ousted. CMEP is actually hosting a webinar about Syria coming up on September 26th. I wanted to call your attention to it. So Churches for Middle East Peace, we're hosting an online webinar on September 26th called Where is Syria Now? The webinar is going to cover 3 topics of present-day Syria. We'll hear from Rachel Nelson about the Jewish community in Syria, as well as Israel's ongoing occupation of South Syria that's coupled with the ongoing clashes in Sueda. Tony Ahori will talk to us about the Christian community in Syria, as well as the role of churches in the crisis. Where do things stand now? And finally, our board member for the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, Sasha Gosh-Siminoff, will inform us about aid and development, as well as the lack of transitional justice systems aimed at holding all perpetrators accountable. So I hope you'll join us for that webinar. An update about Iran: the foreign minister will hold a conference call with his French, German, British counterparts in order to avoid the reimposition of UN sanctions related to Tehran's nuclear program. That was reported today. According to the IRNA, the EU's chief diplomat will also join the call. As of Friday morning, this morning, 28 countries, including the UK, France, Germany, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and Japan, signed a statement urging Israel to allow immediate independent foreign media access to afford protections for all journalists that are operating in Gaza. Of course, this comes after the death of, there were 6 journalists in the past weeks. Hundreds of journalists have been killed in the past 22 months of war and conflict. The text of the statement was released by the Intergovernmental Media Freedom Coalition Group. In the U.S., the State Department on Monday fired its top press officer for Israeli-Palestinian affairs, Shahed Qureshi, according to U.S. officials and documents that were later seen by the Washington Post. There was a memo dated last week that the State Department leadership instructed officials to cut a line that the U.S. does not, quote, support forced displacement of Palestinians in Gaza, that Qureshi drafted. Far-right influencer Laura Loomer yesterday accused Qureshi of not being fully supportive of the administration's policies vis-a-vis the Middle East. Police officers on Wednesday of this week arrested 18 people in Redmond, Washington. So this is Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. 18 people at a worker-led protest that's calling for Microsoft to immediately cut its business ties with Israel. This was at the company's headquarters, according to the Redmond Police Department. The police said there were 35 protesters, 20 of whom were arrested. Some resisted and became aggressive after Microsoft told police they were trespassing on company property. It was not clear how many of those in the protests were actually employees of Microsoft. President Trump this past week on August 20th described Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu as a good man and as a war hero. Pointing to Netanyahu's decision to bombard Iran's nuclear sites, he also considered himself to be a war hero as well. The Trump administration has asked Israel to reduce non-urgent military action in Lebanon in order to give Beirut more space and credibility to disarm Hezbollah. Those are after negotiations that the U.S. was a part of on the disarmament of Hezbollah. The administration also asked Israel to reduce its airstrikes for a few weeks and to consider withdrawing from one of its outposts on Lebanese land to show willingness to cooperate. The Israelis did not say no, and they're willing to give it a chance, according to a source. I wanted to call your attention also that Churches for Middle East Peace has an action alert. We're asking people to support the Block the Bombs Act. So this is House Resolution 3565. It was introduced in the House of Representatives, known as the Block the Bombs Act. It was introduced in May of this year. The resolution calls for a limit to the sale of bombs and ammunition, including white phosphorus, and ammunition manufacturing capabilities. The act comes as Israel has strengthened its assault in Gaza. The death toll is now 62,000 plus. Congress needs to pressure the Trump administration to protect Palestinian civilians through the passage of H.R. 3565. So use your voices. If you've not filled out that action alert, you can do so on CMEP's website. Please do support our efforts in that regard. And in terms of an update from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, the president, Archbishop Timothy Broglio, called for the assistance of the Catholic community in the United States in order to help the endless suffering and starvation of the people of Gaza. He asked for U.S. bishops to support organizations such as Catholic Relief Services and the Catholic Near East Welfare Association, SANIWA, during this time. Catholic Relief Services previously was one of the largest recipients of U.S. aid in Gaza, and so we support that call. Now, if you're thinking about being in New York City, or if you live nearby, Churches for Middle East Peace is doing an event launching our Armenian Advisory Council in New York City on September 16th. That evening, we're having a gala called Ararat to the World. We invite you to join us on Tuesday, September 16th in New York City for that dinner celebration of the oldest Christian country in the world. As we launch our Armenian Advisory Council alongside of His Grace Bishop Mesrop Parsemian and His Eminence Archbishop Viken Akazian. I'll be there as well. So join us in New York, but join us in our collective efforts towards peace. We won't give up hope. May God go before us in the name of Christ. Amen.